So guys, remember one thing here. We triggered the REST message from the business rule. Okay. REST message is actually something that which is used to send the request from ServiceNow. Through the REST message, we will send the request to external systems. Okay. So to create the REST message, we need endpoint authentication details and the request body. Those details you will actually provide in the REST message. So let me just go to the REST message. So this is the REST message that we have actually created. So to create the REST message, we need endpoint, the authentication details, and in the HTTP methods, we have to provide the request body for creating the record. Okay. Fine. Then we can trigger this REST message from the business rule, from the UI action, from the scheduled job, from the script action, from the script include, from the flow designer as well. We can trigger this REST message. Okay. So how do you trigger this REST message from the UI action? We have already seen that. Okay. So for that, we have actually created a UI action on the incident table. If you go to the incident table here, okay. So on the existing records only that UI action will be appearing. On the existing records only, the UI action will be appearing. So once I create this record, right? So now it will actually appear here. Once you click on this sync incident, the record will be created in the external system, and those record details will be shown here. So now these details are not getting updated here because the other instance is not active. So we will just go here and activate that. Okay. Okay. I have to wake this instance up. This is actually our target instance, right? I have to wake this up. So it is actually waking. So once it is up and running, once you click on this UI action, the record will be created in the external system. Those details will be updated here. We'll give a try now here. Guys, please go on mute. That means instance is not up and running. Just clicking on sync again. Still no response. It will take 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, now it is up. You are actually able to access this one, right? Then we'll just click on this one. This time it will create a record and it will populate these details here. So this is the record that got created in the external system, and it has actually populated those details here. From the UI action, we are able to create the record. So as we have discussed, one record, you can actually sync only one record from this instance. You can only create one incident from this instance, right? Just click on this one and then you are able to create the record, and the UI action is not appearing here now. Condition we have kept. For updating also, you can actually update synced record or update synced INC. You can create a new UI action. Okay, whatever the details that you have actually passed through the business tool to update the record, right? Same script you can actually use it in the UI action. So, okay, so that is how you will actually trigger the REST message from the UI action. That is fine. So you can trigger the REST message from any server-side script. Okay. Now we will just understand how do we trigger this REST message from the flow designer. Okay. So now what we will do is we'll just go to the flow designer here. In this flow designer, you have to create an action. You have to create an action. So I'm just creating a new action here. This is actually incident, create incident, integration. Okay. Just submitting this one. So once you submit this one, right? Here you can see this plus icon. Okay. So here you have actually inputs, outputs. Inputs, outputs. So here you can just click on plus here. Here what you can do is out of these you can select script. Okay. In the script, right? Whatever the script that we used to trigger the REST message in the business rule, same script you can paste it here. Okay, let me just go to the business rule. Right click, configure business rules. I'm taking the script out here. So taking this advanced tab here, you can just take the script out. Okay, you can just take the script till here. Okay, till here it is fine. What you do here in the flow designer, you'll paste it here. So in the flow designer, this current object will not work. You have input object available, outputs object available. So this is the point that you guys have to remember. Inputs, outputs. Okay. So how do you define these inputs? How do you define these outputs? So caller ID, right? Caller ID, short description, contact type. So here what you will do, these are actually inputs. You will provide inputs here. Okay. So you have to define these inputs. Where do you define these inputs? Here you will define these inputs here. Okay. So create input. So first one is caller ID. Mandatory. Second one. Short description. Mandatory. Mandatory. Contact type. Mandatory. So you have defined the input. So these inputs you will have to access here. See, whatever you defined here, caller ID, that you have to provide here. Caller underscore ID. So this you will actually take it from these inputs. Caller ID. Description. Short description. Description. Here you will actually provide description. Contact type. Here you will actually provide input as contact type. Okay. These are the input values. Here you will actually take the inputs. Those inputs you will actually get it here. So these are the actual variables. So whatever the variables that you defined here, right? Input.caller ID. So you will actually get those value from here. So you'll slowly understand. Okay. So once you send all these details to the REST message, the REST message will actually pass the details to the external system. It will create the record. So whatever the record that I am actually getting, right, that I am actually storing in an outputs variable, outputs object here, outputs. So outputs dot. So here you have to define those outputs here. Okay. Correlation underscore ID. Another value. Correlation underscore display. So these outputs you have to define here. Equal to. So you will actually get the result, right? Result dot. Parsed response dot result dot sysID. Okay. So whatever the outputs you defined here, number. Okay. So then you have to define outputs here. Just create output here. Correlation ID. Okay. Correlation display. What you do here is you will go to exist mode. Here you will actually pull from the script step, you will actually get the correlation ID. From the script step, you will actually get the correlation display. You will just click on save here. So if everything goes well, you can just publish it. Before that, I want to test it. Caller ID will be sysID of the record. Let me just take this particular record. Just taking the sysID. So these are the inputs. I have created inputs, right? I have made them mandatory, right? Did you guys notice that? Okay. Once I click on this run test, it has to create a record on the external system. Okay. So this has actually finished creating. Then we will actually check whether we have received the response or not. So this is actually the correlation ID that we have got. This is actually the correlation display that we have got. This is the incident number that is actually created in the external system. So now we are able to trigger the REST message from the flow designer. So how did we trigger the REST message from the flow designer? You guys are able to understand, right? Using inputs and outputs. Okay. So now here what I do, I'll go to the flow designer here. Okay. I am going to create a new flow. First, I have created action. Guys, those who did not listen the flow designer concept, please listen to it. Okay. So just click on submit. So there is already existing name with the same. We'll keep sync incident. So here, when it comes to the flow designer, we have to, first and foremost thing we have to understand is trigger. As I have already told you, this flow designer can be used as business rule. It can be used as scheduled job. It can be used as workflow. It can be used for integrations as well. I told you, right? Okay. So here, when an incident record is created, in the incident table, when a record is created, okay, then what I am doing is, whatever the action that I created, right, that action I am going to call it here from these actions. This is actually the action. So what is the action name that we have kept? Sync incident, right? Sync incident, or what is the action name? Create incident integration, right? Create Where is that action? We did not publish it. So to access that action, it must be published. Why did we did not publish it? Because we were testing. And I'm actually publishing this one. Okay. So now you will be able to access that action here. Create incident. This is the one. This is the action that we created, right? I'm selecting this one here. Whatever the record is that is created, right? So here, these are the inputs that I designed. Did you guys notice that? Inputs. So these are mandatory. If you don't enter this one, you are not allowed to save this flow designer. So I am going to pull this caller ID, short description from the created record. So using this data pill, these are actually called data pills. So I directly can drag it from this data pills. So here I can actually scroll little down. Caller. I can directly drag it something like this, or you can use this one. So I'm going to drag short description. Okay. Here I'm going to drag description here. Okay. Channel field. Okay. Then we have to update the record, right? We have to update the same incident record, right? So what you will do, you will actually take the another action called update record. Okay. So which record you want to update? This particular record only, right? Whatever the record is created, that record only you want to update, right? You will drag it here. So what are the fields that you want to update? Correlation ID and correlation display, right? So this one, this is actually u underscore correlation ID. So here you are getting correlation ID, right? Then you will drag it here. You can directly drag it something like this, or you can use this data pill. So here from this second action, you are getting outputs, right? Those outputs you are dragging here. Okay. Correlation display. So the display also you can drag it here, or you can actually go to the second step, this step, correlation display. Okay. I have to save this one and I have to publish this one. Only when it is published, the flow designer will be triggered. So whether the flow designer is triggered or not, how do we check is that we have actually executions here. Okay. Now there are no executions for this flow. What I do, I am going to create a new record here in the incident table. Abed path record is not there in the external system. So that validations we are yet to discuss. Okay. Once I create this one, right, immediately the flow designer will be triggered. Once the flow designer is triggered, so 201. See, whatever the record is created, This time we did not actually trigger the REST message. We did not trigger the REST message from the business rule. We did not trigger the REST message from the UI action. This time the REST message is actually triggered from the flow designer. Okay. Now from the flow designer, we have used script. Without using script also you can achieve it. This inputs using outputs we passed, right? We will use scripting, but limited. Okay. So how do you do that? So there is another concept called integration hub that will actually come into picture. By default, that is not available in the ServiceNow system. To access integration hub, you have install plugin. Okay, in the personal developer instance, see, usually why didn't they give by default is that is actually paid service. Even organizations have to pay some amount to get that plugin, integration hub plugin. So what do you have to do is you have to go to the developer account. Okay, you have to go to the developer account, everyone, to get the integration hub on the system. So go here, just click on activate plugin. So just type integration hub. So just ServiceNow Integration Hub installer. You can just activate this one. Okay. So if you don't activate this integration hub plugin, what happens is that you cannot see some steps while creating the actions, right? Where are the flow designers? So we have created this action, right? While when we click on this action, right? When you click on this plus icon here, right? You will be able to see limited data, ServiceNow data, and also you can see utilities. Here you cannot see this integration related. These things will not be available. These things will only be available when you have integration hub in place. Okay. So here you can remove this script step here. So you can just remove the script step. You can just click on this one. Scroll little down. You have REST step available. Take this one. Okay. So here, right, whatever you see, you don't even have to create REST message in this case. You don't even have to create REST message. You don't have to fire it. Directly you are creating the REST message here in the flow designer. Did you guys get what I mean? Directly you are actually providing the REST message details here in the flow designer itself. Okay. What is this use connection alias? Connection alias are nothing but credentials, authentication. So how do you use this connection aliases? So what you will do, you will go to the native platform, you go here, connection alias. See, connection and credential alias. Okay. You will just click on this one. So click on new. Uday second instance. Okay. So here you have to select the credentials. Okay. Once that is done, here you have to provide credentials here. Here I have basic credentials, basic authentication credentials. I don't remember the password in this ServiceNow instance.
Can't we directly take from the data source?
Data source. You mean which data source?
I mean, where we can maintain all connection details in all, right?
Yeah, we can get. So we have actually multiple things right here.
Mhm.
So we have actually multiple things available here. We can get the credentials from multiple ways.
Mhm.
So for this requirement, I'm actually using basic authentication.
Okay.
So these details we all know from where we have to get. So from this instance. So to log into this instance, we have to go to manage instance password and all. Admin. Okay. So I go to the user account. So I forgot the password. I'm going to set the password again. Copying, saving this one. So inc.integration is actually the user ID and password is actually this one. Okay. Now what we can do is we can actually select this connection alias here in the flow designer. Define connection inline. Uday second instance. This is the one that we have actually created here. Okay. So base URL. Base URL is actually this one. I'm not selecting any connection timeout time. If my system is not able to reach this target URL within this much time, we have to show some timeout error. That is actually timeout time. I'm not keeping any timeout here. So build request manually. So here I have to use post to create the record, right? I have to use post resource path. So what is resource path? So I've told you, right? Table API. The table API path.
Incident, right?
Yes. API.now.table.incident slash. So that API path I have to take. That API path I have to build it now. We don't need all these things. We just treat it from here. In place of table name, we have to keep incident. This is actually resource path. So query parameters and header we discussed. query parameters and headers in the REST message also we have seen that. Request type you can keep text only. Build request from manually. We will take text. So whatever the content that you have in the REST message, right? Same content we will actually provide here. Okay. Whatever the content we have, same content we will actually provide here. Let me just go to the REST message and take it out. You can just take this content. So in place of this one, we can pass the caller ID in place of this one. We can directly enter those. We can directly enter those values as well without using this JSON body as well.
If it is a dynamic call, we have to use the dollar.
Yes, yes.
If it is a manual, we can.
Okay. So we'll do one thing. For the time being, we will actually pass some static values. So once it is good, we will actually send dynamic values. This is the SysID of the record. So you will just save this one. Whatever the details that you selected in the REST message, same details you selected here are not. So without, see, you are creating the REST message, you are triggering the REST message using any server-side script, right? But here you are directly triggering the REST message. You are not triggering the REST message using scripting. You are directly triggering the REST message without scripting. So here you can just click on test here. Okay, so some random number. I don't want these inputs here. I have provided some static values, right? Run test here. So this is the response body that you have received. So this is the record number that is actually created in the external system. Okay. So this is the response body that you received from the external system. Understand? So here in the flow designer, what you have done, you did not actually create the REST message here. You did not trigger the REST message. Directly REST message itself you designed in the flow designer. Okay. And then you passed some static values. We will check those static values. Where are those? We have passed test 9 value, right, in the short description. This is the record that is created. Where is the short description?
It was there in the below, first starting line. Test 9. No, completely below.
Okay, okay.
No. 9. From there it was the fifth line, Uday. Fifth line. The starting 9 is there. Yeah. Up.
On
Yeah.
this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, short description test 9. Whatever the details that you passed in the REST message, right? Same details, using same details, it has actually created the record in the external system, right? So we have to parse this response. So how do you parse this response? What you have to do is you have to go to the one which you have actually created. Where did we create? This one only. This one only, right? Yeah. So here you have to take another step here. So like I have taken the script step just a while ago. I'm taking the script step here again. Okay. So here, if you take a look at here, from this REST step, we are actually getting the response body. From this response body, we have to pull. From this response body, we have to pull sysid and number, right? So then you will actually create a variable here. You'll have to input. You'll have to create inputs, outputs. Input, outputs. We have discussed already. Okay. Here. Response underscore body. So you will just get that response body from this REST step. So we all know, right? JSON.parse. JSON.parse. You have to parse this response here. Where parse response is equal to JSON.parse. Inside that, you have to pass this response body, input.response body. Okay. Inputs.response body. So here you have to design outputs here. So what are those? Display, ID. Correlation ID. These are actually mandatory things. Okay. So here you have to design those outputs as well here. Outputs dot. You have to take this. Name is different, label is different. Is equal to parse response dot result dot number. Okay.
Uday, fourth step, I think it is outputs, right?
Yeah, output.
No. Number fourth step. Yeah.
No, this is actually input, Naresh.
Response body we are taking, right? It is from outside outputs only, right?
This is actually this output. Rest
Okay.
step output is actually response body. From
Okay.
this rest step, we are actually taking response body as input to this step.
Acha. Okay. Got it.
Yeah, I'm just saving this one. Okay. Then you are actually getting outputs. You have to define outputs as well here. We have already a correlation ID and correlation display as outputs here, right? From the script steps, we'll actually get correlation ID. From the script step, you will actually get the correlation display. Okay. So inputs, I'm not defining any there. I can also define inputs also here. So in place of this one, right? I don't use $flower brackets. Directly, I will actually get here from the inputs. From the inputs, I can get caller ID. So I will actually remove this one. Okay. Here from the inputs, I will actually get short description. Inside this one, right? I will actually get description. Inside this one, I'll get the content type. Okay. I am going to save this one. Publish this one. Before publishing, we have to test it. So we have already had a test. Now, once it is published, we will also have a quick test there. So just clicking on test here. So able to trust study will pass here. Test 10. Email. Just clicking on run test here. So once I click on the run test here, it will actually send this content to the body. Okay, you can just click on this one. This is actually execution link. So these are the inputs that you have passed, and this is the output that you have got. This is the number that is actually created. This is the SysID of that particular record that is created in the external system. Okay, what we have sent, what we have got. So now what I do here, I go to the flow designer. Here I go to the flow designer. This is the one. So I will actually remove this action here. Okay. I'll also remove this one. Once a record is created, I'll actually call this create incident integration. This is the UI action. This is the flow action only we have created, right? So this flow content I can actually pass dynamically. From the created record, whoever the caller that you selected, that caller you can pass it here. So from this trigger, right? Trigger, incident record, caller. Trigger. See, where and all I am mapping, are you guys are sure or not? This mapping is important in the flow designer. You are not writing any scripting here. You're just mapping the things. This is not the one. So here, do you remember I'm actually dot walking here? Okay, I have to update the record, right? You have to take update record action, which is actually out of box. Service now provided action. I did not actually create this action. This action is created by me. Okay, which record I have to update? This record, right? I am dragging here. Okay. Correlation ID. In the correlation ID, here I am actually passing this correlation ID here. In the correlation display, here I am actually passing this correlation display. And I am saving this one. And activating this one. Okay. So now I am going here and creating a new incident record. Okay. So now we will check whether the record is updated here or not. 401. 401 means authentication issue. Authentication issue. Okay. So somehow credentials issue has happened. So we will go to the flow designer here. We will check the executions here. What went wrong, we can actually check here in the logs in the flow designer. This flow itself is not triggered. What is this? From here it is working fine, right? From this action it is working fine, right? If you provide all these values, it is able to reach the external system, right? Just clicking on run test here. Now we will go to the incident table here. See, this record is just created. This is actually working fine. It is able to reach the external. This is actually able to reach the system. I'm not really sure why are we getting 401. Okay. So this action is working fine. Somehow in the flow, there are no executions I found here. There should be at least execution. Maybe while creating the flow designer, system user, which is fine. Directly create a we create test here from. I'm taking some random incident here. 10816. Whether this record is actually created in the external system or not, we'll have to check now. So we'll get the executions here. This is a record that is created. Okay. If you open that particular record, this record would have been updated as well. This is working fine. And when we create the record here, if it is not able to reach the external system, if there is any connection issue, it will not connect with the external system and create the record there. But it is creating the record, it is updating the record. But when we make a request from here in this incident, somehow some issues are happening. Again 401. Again 401. Where are we getting this 401? So definitely there will be execution at least. Logs will be there, right? Whether the flow has been triggered or not, we will have logs. Here it is saying there are no logs at all. Executions. So this execution we had done a minute ago for testing purpose. Then, so somehow this flow itself is not getting triggered. That is why we are able to see 401. Okay. Clear, right? We will now more discuss even more detail. So in the flow designer, right? Here I have used get. You can also use here. You can also use get. Here I have used post. You can also use get, put, patch, delete. These also you can use. So while using this put or delete, sysID is must. Then you have to make input sysID mandatory. Understand? So how I am actually integrating with the external system using flow designer, you are able to understand, right? Two ways. Using script step, inside the script step, I have actually triggered the REST message using script. That is actually one way. In the flow designer itself, I have created the REST message using REST step. Directly I have taken the REST message into REST step here. Hope you guys got it. So to update the record, we need sysID mandatory. To delete the record, we need sysID mandatory. To get the record, we need query mandatory. How many records you want? Let us say if you are actually using get here, right? Here you have to provide query parameters here. Like sysparam underscore query. Okay. Number is equal to incident number. So that particular incident number you can actually get here. That particular incident number record details, you can actually get it to this system. You can actually, this number should be dynamic. You have to make this number should be dynamic. You have to pull the number from here, inputs. Okay. So that this REST step, you can actually use it as REST message. Okay. Hope you guys clear. So we have seen REST message to send the request from ServiceNow system to external system, from business rule, UI action, flow designer. So hope you guys have got some idea how we are actually sending the request to external system. Okay, so we will discuss some other topic in tomorrow session. Hope you enjoyed the session. Tomorrow holiday. Yeah.